Let's begin on the scene, though, in Ukraine. The Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, and the UK Foreign Secretary, both on the ground in Kyiv. Both leaders meeting with Ukraine's foreign minister. They say their goal is to show solidarity and their support for Ukraine. Blinken also meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy today. Our international correspondent, Jason Bellini, on the scene right now in Kyiv. And Jason, what makes this trip, Blinken's trip to Ukraine, so significant at this moment in time?
Hi, Dale. Well, the context I'm going to give you is from what I just saw. I just came from the east, from the front line in a very intense area. And what I can tell you is this is a very difficult moment for Ukraine. And the battlefield, it is bloody. And part of it, and we won't go into this right now, but the technology that we're seeing being deployed by both sides in such a deadly way is leading to a situation where Ukraine really needs help right now. And the help that they want, and this gets to your question about this visit, that you have the two foreign secretaries who are here. The point of this visit is they're going to listen to Zelenskyy, make his case to them for why he needs to be able to use the weapons their countries have provided, the U.S. and the Britain have provided, to attack Russia deep inside of Russia, because the situation is desperate. That's what they're hearing from President Zelenskyy behind closed doors. I can also tell you that while they were here, the press pool, they had to go into shelter because the air raid sirens went off, which is not uncommon here, but it's been more and more frequent right now as the tempo, as the intensity of this conflict is growing at the end of this summer. Now, as the end of this summer, we're also looking forward to the winter, and Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, he said that he was going to bring some money. The U.S. has some money for Ukraine to help it get its energy grid. 70% of the electrical grid has been knocked out, has been decimated by Russia, and winter is not that far off, and winters are brutal here. Here's what he had to say about that.
As we're meeting here today, we're again seeing Putin dust off his winter playbook, targeting Ukrainian energy and electricity systems to weaponize the cold against the Ukrainian people. That's why today we're announcing $325 million in new funding to help repair Ukraine's energy and electric grid. And we'll rally additional support from the G7 plus countries.
One thing we're not able to quantify at this point, because we just don't have the numbers, is how many Ukrainian soldiers are dying on the battlefield right now. What we have is anecdotal, and my anecdote for tonight is that a rabbi, the chief rabbi of this country, who we interviewed a year ago, his son was fighting on the front line, and we just found out a few hours ago that his son died. There's going to be a service for him tomorrow. I hear stories from many people here about close friends, loved ones who are dying on the battlefield, but we just don't know how many. But one thing we can be confident of, this is a very brutal period, and that's why I think President Zelenskyy has such desperation in his voice when he's going to foreign leaders saying, help us, we need it right now. Del?
Jason, I'm curious, there was that big debate here last night. Any talk of how it unfolded on the ground where you are? Because one of the things that came out is the former president refusing to say whether or not he wanted Ukraine to win the war.
Well, to be honest, I was on the road most of today, and so I haven't been able to talk to too many people on the ground here in Kyiv itself on the question of the interesting question about what should happen with this war. This society is becoming more and more divided about whether there should be negotiations with Russia. It's now at around 50% of Ukrainians think that there should be some negotiations and that there should be a peace settlement, which implicit is that Ukraine is going to give up land to Russia, at least temporarily, but in exchange for a ceasefire. There's growing support for that here in this country, even though President Zelenskyy, he's absolutely adamant that that is not what he would agree to. So, but people here are tired of the death, dying, and also this is a moment when things are getting worse, not better, Dal.
Zelenskyy wants to use U.S. weapons to attack Russia inside Russia. Any word from Anthony Blinken on the ground in Kyiv right now as to whether or not that is going to happen?
No, there's a lot of speculation. This is a very sensitive thing, and it's happening behind closed doors. And I can tell you, with over the last couple of years, the U.S. it keeps moving forward closer to what Ukraine wants, gives in to what Ukraine says it needs, but it does so quietly. It doesn't announce it, and there's a reason for that, because they have a narrow window. If they allow, let's say, if Blinken brings word, okay, you can use the ATACMS system to go after Russia inside Russia, well, they're going to have a narrow window to do that before the Russians know, and they pull back some of their critical assets. So I don't think that if he came bearing a message that it's okay to use the ATACMS, which is what Zelenskyy wants, I don't think he's going to say anything about it. I think we'll find out on the battlefield itself, though.
Our international correspondent Jason Bellini on the scene in Kyiv. Jason, as always, stay safe.